It's south of East Greenbush, but north of Castleton, if you know where that is. One incredible fact about this land is that corn has been grown continuously on this land for at least 500 years. There's still a crop of corn on this very site. Hudson is followed just a few years later by a number of other explorers and fur traders. Charlie was talking about Block, who's probably the most famous of that group. There was also a man named Hendrik Christensen. And Christensen and Block were contemporaries. They seemed, when you read about their encounters with each other, they seemed friendly toward each other. Block has an interesting story about his ship, the Tiger, which is an adventure that evolved down here in the Manhattan area. But there was, this is still a free-for-all. The New World, this colony that the Dutch are curious about is still a free-for-all. It means that various companies, various fur trading companies that could afford to, could send a ship and a captain here to trade on their own with whoever they wanted to. So there were disputes and arguments about who should be working where. Some of the disputes evolved into conflict and problems, mostly down in this part of the river. But it was Christensen who decided just coming once a year and trading with the native people wasn't enough. He wanted his company to be represented here year-round. And so in 1614, Christensen builds the first documented European structure in New York State, and he calls it Fort Nassau. And this is a painting of Fort Nassau in that time period. He built it very near where the city of Albany is, on what is now the Port of Albany's property. It only lasted for 3 years. There was a flood which destroyed the building, which was just a simple house. Christensen wanted to rebuild it. He had some funding to rebuild it. He was on his way back up the Hudson River to do just that when his ship was attacked by Indians that he didn't know. He was killed and half his crew was killed, and this fort was never rebuilt. And I think it would be interesting to get Charlie's perspective on what happens after Christensen's time.
We know about this fort because of the dimensions of the stockade and the house appear on a map. The famous 1614 block map. It's a road map, basically, for how to get from the Connecticut River up to the trading post with the Mohawks up in the north. It tells how many feet wide it is, how long it is, how deep the moat is, and so forth. So we have the dimensions for this fort. Now, the whole idea behind Fort Nassau was the New Netherland Company. This is a precursor of the West India Company. The New Netherland Company was formed in order to suppress competition. The worst thing you can have if you run a business is competition. And the Dutch always tried to monopolize whatever they were involved in. The East India Company was an attempt to do this. The New Netherland Company was an attempt to do this in order to do away with all of these bloody engagements between traders and so forth, competing with the Indians for lower prices, offering them higher prices for trade goods. When the fort is washed away, they go back to their old trading practices of putting tents on shore, working out of their boats, and so forth. This is all done long before the Pilgrims arrived, by the way. The Pilgrims don't show up until 1620, when they winter over on Cape Cod and then go to the mainland in 1621. All of this activity is taking place Pardon?
The Belgians came to Holland, they originally moved
Oh, yes,
to
yes.
the Netherlands,
Right.
and then they were integrating too much into the Dutch society, so they decided to
Why they're always depicted wearing Dutch clothes and stuff, but they had a lot of Dutch tools and so forth that they brought over with them, and Dutch technology and so forth.